teaser of the campaign. We're gonna try the campaign first.
Unedited is dying. Its barren fields provide little food, and its crumbling walls offer no protection. As the power of the Guardian men here fails, the weirdness creeps ever closer. Twisting places, creatures, and even space itself. Despite this, the people of the Farmhold refuse to leave. Instead, Lord Yvain led 4 of their best on a desperate mission to Camelot. They promised to bring back help. They never returned. Now those left behind are growing desperate. They will try to bestow the burden of their fate on someone else. New heroes, with an even slimmer chance of success.
Hello. Well, that app just crashed, so let's try again.
Unedited is dying. Its barren field.
If this crashes again, we'll try the other mode, the roguelike mode. Scene initialization 2. Hey, we made it. Both characters currently play the same. Well, we'll go with Bayor, the blacksmith.
Not long ago, Ephir's Forge supplied the southern lands with weapons and armor of quality comparable to arms crafted by masters of Camelot. Materials brought directly from the mines of Forlorn Swords, as well as Ephir's unrivaled knowledge, made his swords and shields particularly sought after. But with quality and renown came steep prices that not every soldier could pay out of pocket. You were the happiest person on this damned island when Ephir took you under his wing to teach you the basics of his craft. Now, the ruin of his house, the place where you spent countless hours hammering on the blacksmith's iron, looms at the edge of the weirdness, rotting away, a shade of its former glory. Your hand touches the key in your pocket. Every day it feels a little heavier. Every day you wonder whether you will be able to force yourself to walk through that door again. Why would you even try to save his legacy after he found you insufficient? After he lied to you? After he left you behind like a broken tool? With hazy eyes and less than confident hands, you open the door. Maybe that last ale wasn't a good idea. Maybe it was. The fact is that now you're drunk out of your mind. But as you sit near a large workbench, you notice a piece of parchment on the floor under it. That damned letter. You've read it 1,000 times by now. You've tried to burn it 1,000 times more. In this short note, your master explains the reason why Yvain did not take you on his quest. The young lord of Kuanacht believed you too reckless, and he saw your wound as a liability. However, he tries to convince you that should their expedition fail, you might be the only hope Kuanacht has to survive. It's not like you believe a single word he wrote.
Work through the night.
Drunk as you are, it's not easy to start working at the forge, but you're way past sleeping it off. Kuanacht is dying, and everyone who didn't leave by now is going down with it. You try to hammer your way through some of Ephir's sketches, but find yourself unable to replicate anything of use. You try your best, and it's a weird feeling. Something you haven't felt for a while now. You wake as the sun sets. Usually, by this time, you'd already be on your way to the inn. You might be able to force yourself to get some work done before you leave, though. The wound in your side suddenly throbs, and you punch it in response. Pain and rage overwhelming you for a moment. Only then you notice one of the farmhold's guardians standing in front of you, his mouth agape.
I am sorry, but it's your turn to lay an offering.
God-forsaken offering. It was not your turn today, and even if it were, you know the truth. The men here's protection won't last. Oblivion stretches its cold hands towards Kuanacht Farmhold, after claiming many other parts of Avalon. Your question takes him aback.
An offering to our guardian Minnie. Have you been outside? The weirdness is close now, and Farmhold's ledger says you're next. Please, don't cause any trouble.
The face of the guard hardens.
I thought Master Effer made a better man of you.
Time passes. Your wound throbs again, as if something was trying to rip free and join the rolling clouds of weirdness outside. Sitting here any longer would be a torture.
So we just got a bunch of items.
The local menhir now towers above you, weathered and cracked, its ribbons flapping in the wind. The thought that this tired old thing is the only protection from pure weirdness outside of Farmhold sends shivers up your spine. Menhirs, raised by Merlin himself in the Age of Conquest, are said to have different appetites. The one before you seems to best respond to fresh blood, and its thirst is not easy to quench.
I can lose half of my health or look for a sacrifice.
The menhir can be sated with animal blood, just as easily as with human offering. Unfortunately, livestock is now scarce and very expensive. You will need to hunt down some wild creature and drag it back to this place. The thought of chasing prey on the edge of weirdness makes you anxious. Your eyes slide past the Kuanak's prison broch. Maybe there is another, safer way to appease the menhir.
Okay, so we're not gonna just kill a dude. There's weirdness everywhere. Oh, we're gonna take a crazed dog. I have 3 energy. I could just outright kill one of them.
You spill the blood at the foot of the statue. The cracked stones drink greedily. You feel the Menhir's power surging. Once again, the weirdness is pushed back. Once again, the land returned to Kuanact is smaller than before, barely reaching past the furthest buildings of the farmhold. Bystanders disperse, and you sit down to catch your breath. Most of the people are now heading for the mead hall to raise a toast for yet another day Kuanact bought itself with blood.
Interesting.
You take a place at the edge of the hall, while people begin to talk about sending someone else to find help for Kuanact.
Silence!
Conversations cut off immediately. The crowd parts, and a massive figure pushes towards you. The maimed knight is here. Was he sitting in some far corner of the hall the entire time, or did he arrive just now?
Leave us alone.
Guards gently escort everyone but you outside, ignoring the pleas of people who just started their drinks. Guards take their posts on the other side of the door and make sure no one is eavesdropping by the outside wall. You're now alone with the knight, trying not to look at the bandages covering half of his face, or to think about unsettling stories you've heard about him.
I kept watching you today. I needed to see how well you deal with hardships and obstacles before I tell you the truth. The time is short. I couldn't wait any longer, and you seemed like the best bet. I trust you received a certain letter from someone important to you. And yet you willingly rejected your responsibility and decided to pretend nothing had happened. When Lord Yvain left me in charge of this farmhold, I thought the task was beneath me. Turned out it's quite the opposite. I cannot travel outside anymore. Will you help me? gates, I'd relinquish this position in an instant, if it wasn't for the oath that binds me. Am I? Can you be sure of anything after you went through the weirdness? We have to find a way to strengthen the Menhir and buy more time, so that Yvain may finish his quest. Blood is not sufficient anymore. We need another source of power to lay at its feet. In days of old, before the Purges, it was druids who took care of Menhirs. The one Yvain cast out from the city may still be alive. You may also ask someone who knows a thing or two about objects infused with magic. Your people speak about a witch in the woods to the west. Maybe she knows what could help our stone.
The knight reaches for the satchel at his side and hands you a couple of candles made from strange dark wax. You shudder. You never thought you'll have to use one of these foul things.
Weird candles. Make every one of them count. Some more may still be bought around Kurnacht, but they get scarcer by the day. And do not make a mistake of thinking that their light turns you invulnerable. If you keep peering too long into the weirdness, it is bound to look back. If you don't go out there, no one will. In weeks, the town will be swallowed whole. Don't wait until the weirdness is at your very doorstep.
Okay. So do we go for the Druid or the Wicked Witch of the West? I think we're gonna go for the Druid. So he said we could also buy in the town. But I don't see where or how, so let's just go. Immune to stun. This is just a generic block. That's pretty sweet. Like, blocks anything. Unless that's how it works anyways, I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna look at the blocking mechanics. And since I don't know how this stuff works, I'm gonna do the weird candles. Oh, this is the druid.
The small stone clocken looms in the mist. Over the years, you've heard many tales about the man who lives there. Some of them were used to scare the children of Kuanacht. Soon you notice the smoke rising slowly from the hut's chimney. A group of men set up their makeshift camp by the front door. It seems they're waiting for the druid to come out. Leader of the group looks at you from under his deep hood. His tattooed companions do not even honor you with a glance, but their unusual scars and crude clothing tell you everything. The Hill Tribe.
Be gone. It's your last warning.
People who are kind enough to warn you before they unsheathe their swords are a rarity these days. You approach the group, slowly and calmly.
Wasn't I clear enough? We did not wish to be here either.
You think that's the end of it, but then the hillman speaks again. He tells you of the rolling clouds of weirdness and hair-raising vistas in the sky, of creatures in the night that keep whispering just beyond the door, slowly pushing people to madness, of hunger and despair. Though his story is spine-chilling, you see clearly there's something even worse he's trying not to tell.
Think you're smart, Tony? Why would you care? You're walking onto some thin ice. Blunt. Good.
The hooded man slowly stands up. He's taller than anyone you've seen in your life. His group takes a step back, unconsciously.
You want to help out? Fine. We're starving here. Go hunt, bring us enough food, and we'll let you talk to the warlock.
So I gotta find food for these dudes. I have 4 food, so I just need 1 more. Oops.
Though I write this with sadness, the use of poisons applied to blades and arrows has become more and more prevalent in recent years. While it would be easy to blame the crisis of honor and chivalry for this sad state of affairs, the truth is simpler. It's hard to make people of the land abandon any trick that gives them an edge over greedy bands of brigands or aggressive beasts.
Alright, he dropped food. Let's fight the other one too. I could have just killed him. Oh no, we're fine. Better to have a bunch more food.
The hooded man. You give supplies to the men and they liven up. They must have been starving out here, waiting for the druids to let them inside. They invite you to sit and dine with them, as the laws of hospitality demand. You sit with the hill tribe, as refusing someone's hospitality is said to bring bad luck. Over the modest meal, you have more time to talk, but you quickly discover that speaking to these barbarians is like wading through the bog.
Usually, we bring him mushrooms and plants from our parts of the hills and make an ointment. He spends a day or two in a trance, waiting for it to brew. Then he checks our condition and applies the medicine. This time, we brought him more ingredients and asked to prepare much more ointment for our wives, children, and people back home. He refused. He's saying something about his limited powers and keeps asking for more mushrooms. We tried to make him reconsider, but his damn stone hovel is protected with magic. We're trying to starve him out instead. I'm the Thane of my clan. I went further into the weirdness than my people. I got the worst of it, but no one in our tribe is taintless now.
Only now you notice small but telling changes in both of his men. There's something wrong with their faces, and their eyes look like clouded glass.
The clouds are getting thicker and thicker. Soon this condition will spread.
You shudder at the thought of weird warped bands of crazy hillmen just outside of Kuanat. You call out to the druid inside and give the scarred wooden door a push. Inside the clocken, the first thing you notice is a dense smell of rotting meat and human sweat. There's a man half laying on a bed in the corner, looking barely conscious. His hands are trembling. You shake the man's body, and after a while you see his eyes opening. He looks up at you with an absent gaze. Suddenly, he sits up on his bed and shouts,
I told you never to enter this place. Wait, who the hell are you? I hope they'll just give up and go. Don't look at me that way. Have you seen that freak of a man? Even Arctrude Imogen wouldn't be able to cure him. That's what you get from going into the weirdness. Yes, I used fear to gain a regular supply of mushrooms that I badly need to function. Seemed fair at the time. At least my ointment made me feel better. But now he wants more of this stuff. For their entire damn village, he says. For their women, children. I can't carry on with this. And what good would that achieve? Save for them crushing my skull and their last hopes being shattered. You really want a band of hillmen with nothing to lose as your neighbors. Listen, I do what I do, and you do what you do. You don't have to approve of me, and I don't have to approve of you. We'll be fine with that, won't we? I don't care. Now, that's smart. That's what I like to hear. I'll tell you what I want. I want to go back to Connacht and finally lie down in me own damn bed with enough mead and mushrooms to carry me over to the other side. In my own home. The home that was taken from me by your lord. One and only Yvain the Dickhead. Let's just say, Lord Yvain is not big on second opinions. He claimed the Pale Lady, this rotting wench of the lake, spoke to him in his dream, telling him of some grand destiny. He thought that with a group of right men and women, he could save the land like the heroes of the Age of Legends. But all he had was a rusty sword, a dim-wit smith, a fat priestess, an old traveler, and a reckless hunter. Oh, what a team they were. I tried to be the voice of reason, told them there's no use. Yvain decided I'm scaremongering, in that I have bad influence over the townsfolk. And here I am. Just remember, my old house, my old bed, me inside alone. No one bothering me, not now, not ever, save for the time when I run out of meat or drugs. And an apology from Yvain when you're at it.
You leave the druid's hut, still dizzy from the stench you felt inside. You look at the men patiently waiting for the druid junkie to let them in.
You got what you wanted from the warlock? I'm happy for you. I'm glad you're trying to fight against the weirdness. Did the warlock say anything about us?
He falls silent and sighs heavily. As he broods on your words, you realize he had to suspect something for a long time now, yet the news still hits him hard. You use this moment of silence to slip away discreetly.
Well, I hope this guy doesn't die as a result of me doing that, but then I guess we still have the witch we can talk to.
You enter the house that once belonged to the druid, and the first thing you notice is the unbelievable stench of rotting flesh. Then a woman springs out of the dark and grabs you by the wrist.
Please, please don't kill us. You're...
She falls silent, realizing she took you for someone you're not. She stands up, takes a deep breath, and utters just 2 words.
Look around.
There are people all over the cramped interior, lying on the floor, covered in blankets, moaning in pain, dying. They occupy every square inch of this place, save for some narrow paths left for their nurse, who this woman seems to be. But how does she nurse them? There's no medicine for the Red Death.
It's a safe haven for the diseased. Travelers, townsfolk, people who would have died on the streets. All were taken by the Red Priest. Yes, the Red Scum. It's not true that they burn everyone who's beyond help. They gather them round and send them off to the island asylum, and there they...
Well, I don't really want them to leave the house, but I'm not giving much of a choice here.
What?
You explain that the only man who knows how to help with the men here demands this house to be returned to him.
What do you suggest we do then? How would you even? The cost would be staggering. And the Red Priest won't take this affront lightly. The laws that let them take our sick are hundreds of years old. Breaking them would earn us a powerful enemy. Not to mention that an asylum next door would make people of Kuanak nervous. If you decide to do it, it's on you. My conscience won't let me. Go on, talk to them. And if you do, I hope I'll never see you again.
300 gold. So how do I get that? So I guess I just gotta keep fighting dudes. What? No money from that guy, that sucks.
I did not expect you here. Were you following me? Wasn't there something else you were to do? I was, but I wanted to see this place one last time. Do not change the subject. Why are you here? Were you following me? Don't I? Was I so bad at running your little ungrateful farmhold? All right, I understand. You need to trust me if you're to follow me. Ask away. Nobody. Yet. Order is gone. So many knights missing. Gaheris tries his best in the borough. Bors has gone to the western farmholds to stop the war. Galahad is presumed dead since he abandoned the Round Table. But they don't have his insignia, so they can't name his descendant. And I'm stuck here, of all places. Please promise that should I fall, and I will fall sooner than later, you will do everything in your power to save this damned island. I'll see you at the farmhold. Please make haste with your search. No. What you're doing for Kuanak now is far more important than my fate. Thank you for offering this, though. This was a knightly thing to say.
I could dig up graves. They plan to heal? They're not even hurt. can keep doing that. I didn't even notice how much money we got from the first time. This went way worse than last time. Holy crap. So I'm almost rich again. Not again, for the first time. No money from those guys. Heals 20 health. Oh, I'm full health, full HP. What do I care? You heal to full after you level up. Let's try and find more stuff to kill. Two gold. Oh my god. I see quests over there, but I don't think... Whoa, I don't want to fight that guy. It's like a pretty small infirmary.
So, you did it? For us? I can't find words to express.
I'll be right back. I'm just gonna grab a drink.
We will start moving the stick at once.
5 XP? That's it?
You and the nurse leave this domain of death. Just outside the front door, the druid is sitting on the rock. He claps slowly.
Congratulations. That was very sweet of you. You're sure all this work wouldn't be better spent on shoring up your defenses? Anyway, here's my part of the deal. As the Menhir's inner aura fades, the statue becomes more and more numb to the offerings. You need to rekindle it with something new, something it never felt. Magic from the homelands. Powerful, ancient magic. Camelot would be my guess. Sure to that, the family graves of your Lord Yvain might be a place to check. His ancestors date back to the homelands, after all. Go there and dig until you find a relic of old. Then burn it as a sacrifice to the Menhir. This should do the trick. In days of old, Moonring knew everything about Menhirs. I was only fed scraps of this knowledge. If you care so much about the answers, maybe your people shouldn't have slaughtered most of the druids.
A group of red priests approaches you, fuming with anger. The priests realize they won't sway you. They helplessly look around, but see only resentment on faces of other Kuanak's residents. Your compatriots hate the priests more than they fear the plague.
Screw the red priests. Going back to dig through the gravesite?
You approach the guardian menhir of Kuanacht with the relic. Looking at its cracked surface, you start to wonder whether it will be enough. As you prepare to lay the offering, you feel an imposing presence behind you. The maimed knight is standing just a few paces back, wrapped in his tattered cloak, hood obscuring his face. You never heard his footsteps. The flames begin to consume your relic, and you experience a familiar feeling. Things once again seem to come into focus as the menhir's protective power surges fast. Perhaps too fast. The stone almost seems to be trembling. Then something breaks. Menhir's power disappears in an instant. A chilling wail sounds in the air, coming from within the statue. Finally, the menhir itself begins to move. No. Something tries to move out of it. A dark, ethereal apparition with 4 arms and a 3-eyed mask.
Step back!
The maimed knight throws back the cloak, and for a moment you are blinded. Beside you stands a true knight of the Round Table. His armor, though several hundred years old and mended in many places, shines in the torchlight like a falling star. The sight of his face, part of it twisted by weird, and the other part pristine like a portrait of some ancient hero, makes you stop in your tracks. He raises his blade, honed in the fires of now lost homelands, and bellows,
I am Percival of the Round Table. Come at me, wretch!
The link between the apparition and the statue begins to fray as it springs toward the night. Smaller shadows rise from the ground on both of its sides.
A Four-Dweller, one of the original masters of this island, trapped between life and death. The magic of the relic somehow eroded its bindings.
A spirit of humanity's deadliest foe trapped in a protective statue created by Merlin? It seems too preposterous to be true. And yet the apparition is right there, before your very eyes. He nods his head, raises his sword, and steps towards the raging apparition, now connected to the men here with just one thin strand of pure magic.
I don't know how to use that. I thought I would be able to use that on him. Why is he healing me? Oh, I did end up using the acid thing on him.
You stagger, the dying wails of Weirdsporn echoing under your skull. Red fog clouds your vision. You barely see Percival, falling to his knees and leaning heavily on his sword. Blood oozes from the gaps of his armor. The spirit screams one last time and reunites with the men here. The familiar feeling that everything is real and in focus returns. Weirdness melts in the air. Percival collapses into the mud at the feet of the men here. Swaying from side to side, you reach the knight. Now that the rags covering him are gone, you clearly see there are worse things than fresh, deep wounds on his body. The weirdness twisted his flesh and changed half of his face into a gruesome mask.
They called me the purest knight to ever sit at the round table. Look at me now.
He chuckles, choking on blood. People of Kuanat left their homes, but they're too afraid to walk up to the men here. Instead, they watch from a safe distance and ignore your pleas.
Your people, they would ask for my protection. I couldn't offer it. My mission required me to be on the move, search your lands. For a while, yes, the relic jolted it to life, but it will fade again. You must carry on my mission. This wasn't supposed to happen. I have failed. Now, you must carry it in my stead.
Percival's voice is fading fast.
In the old days, when archdruids still tended to the Minears, there was a rite that kept the statues working. Only few knew it. I was to recover it.
His body begins to shake. You lean even closer.
to give Yvain time to deliver the Grail. Yes, and he succeeded. We got word. They were seen near Farshire before the weirdness closed the trails. They all do. Morgaine, the Pale Lady, Lancelot. He sent me, but I spoke to her as well. Not sure who to trust.
Percival's face grows more pale with his every forced breath. You see his hand reaching up.
Please, my mind is slipping away. Find the rights. Help Yvain.
People of the farmhold gather enough courage to walk up to the men here. You find it hard to believe not a single one of them tried to help you and Percival. Maybe the night was right. Maybe you are this farmhold's last hope. You look at Percival's body again. Serene expression now frozen forever on his pale face. When a knight of the Round Table dies, people who found him are bound by law of the land to return his equipment and armor to Camelot, so that, in time, a new knight might take his place. You also have to ensure his burial. Some people raise the knight carefully. Soon you're left alone at the foot of the men here. Kuanacht and its vicinity are safe. For the time being, there are no more long-lost heirlooms to sacrifice or legendary knights to come to your aid. You feel you should discuss this with the rest of the people. As you look into the distance, you see weirdness receding.
Well, I'm rich as balls.
All Mother's followers are usually buried in the ground or burnt on funeral pyres. But in the homelands, far beyond the sea, nobility often raised magnificent tombs. Even though most capable artisans were either taken by the weirdness or left, people who were left behind do their best to create a monument befitting the legend. The monument stands proudly, dedicated to Sir Percival of the Round Table. They say the name Percival means the one who perseveres. If even a knight like that fell, what hope is there for you and the remnants of Kuanacht? As the crowd begins to disperse to mourn and celebrate in the Mead Hall, you feel that you should join them and discuss the future with the rest of the people. Once the mourners begin to disperse, you realize there is one last thing left to do. All of the knight's belongings are still here, neatly packed in a large leather sack. The law requires you to return his armor to Camelot so that, in time, someone else may be called to take his place at the Round Table. A real homeland blade and a suit of steel armor could take you far on your journey, but even touching them would be considered a crime.
I could take them for myself, or take the package. Take the
Perhaps your
package.
travels will eventually take you to Camelot. Once more, citizens of Kuanacht gather in their Mead Hall. As you enter, all eyes turn to you. After the fight under the men here, it's no wonder people of this farmhold think of you as their next champion. You know they will submit to your commands, but what should you do with this power? Before you are able to answer, the door of the hall swings open. A sudden draft nearly extinguishes the torches along the walls.
Now then, I've seen some fireworks by our Mynheer. Did someone forget to invite me to a party?
Kuanak's residents are repulsed, and guards step forward to push the man out of the door. The druid smiles, revealing his blackened teeth.
I am now a member of this community, just like all of you. Remember that.
Everyone looks towards you. Their explanation does not come as a surprise. Once Kuanak's field stopped yielding crops, most of the food came from farms in the Hunter's Grove or was purchased in Caraway Roads, the inn at the edge of Grubwood. You realize that just like during the fight by the men here, no one will come to your aid.
So that's the end of the demo for the campaign. I think I will stop here and check out the other, like the roguelite part.
King Arthur promised us safety on these shores. Instead, we found stormy seas, rocks like shark teeth, and treacherous mists. Those few who manage to land will be set by hunger, cold, and nightmares born of weirdness. My people settled around a gnarled old statue. Though we did not understand its origin or purpose, the enemy seemed to avoid it. That was good enough. For a time. In the end, the winds of weirdness only grew stronger, and the statue failed to protect the settlement. There was fear, despair, and then nothingness, as reality melted around us. I returned alone, back at the feet of the statue. The buildings, the people, all vanished without a trace. I soon learned I wasn't the only one to return. Others survived out there too, lost among the ever-changing mists far from the statue, haunted by a creature never before witnessed. It seems coming to this island was a grave mistake. Avalon was not ours for the taking.
Keep the rune with the brawler, so we understand how that one works. It's a pretty simple deck.
It's a mystery why these stones light up and banish the weirdness when people walk by. Many believe Merlin himself invented the runes carved into them. There's also a darker rumor that they were left by the Fore-dwellers to lure humans into their domain, like moths to the flame.
I think Vulnerable's really good. Cleave is pretty good too. off by 1. I'm gonna kill myself doing this. That's lucky. I didn't even notice this map up here until now. Just looks like there's something down here. is really loud. Apologies for that. I'm dead. Like, I can't do anything here. Okay, I made it work. Apologies again. Like, I don't care for any of these. Like, my health is so low, I don't want anybody attacking me. Like, this one's actually pretty sweet.
A tired knight sits under a slumping willow, his clothes caked in old, dried blood. Next to him rests a discarded shield and a suit of armor. The blade lies in the grass, just beyond his reach. What madman would deprive himself of arms in such a place?
Oh, I was hoping for someone more substantial. You're not my doom. Or maybe. You see, upon my knighting in Camelot, I swore my entire life to hunting beasts of weirdness. My head was filled with knightly ideals. Stories about Arthur's invincible knights who slew monsters by the dozens. The weirdness. It took these dreams, these vain, glorious visions of myself, and turned them real. I was a slayer. No beast could touch me. I killed more of them than I can count. Alas, I cannot leave the weirdness. Months turned into years. Years turned to decades. I'm so tired now. Yet I can't find an enemy that would best me. Please, can you help? I'm sorry. I've helped many groups and settlements over these long decades. There are only two ways these stories end. Either I succeed and stay until people begin to see me as an abomination, or I fail and become the only survivor. I'm undefeatable in combat, but if you were to sneak up on me, you could perhaps end my life with a swift blow. I beg you. I'm going to stay right here. Not that it matters. Farewell.
I will end you.
I think I'm dead here. Maybe not.
Though I write this with sadness, the use of poisons applied to blades and arrows has become more and more prevalent in recent years. While it would be easy to blame the crisis of honor and chivalry for this sad state of affairs, the truth is simpler. It's hard to make people of a land abandon any trick that...
As you approach the tree, it seems to shift and move. You draw closer and realize why the tree appears to move. Dozens of rotting bodies sway in the wind, and all of them do a strange dance with their necks squeezed into their nooses.
go see if we can get to this candle maker. Yeah, you gotta fight, guys. You can't just walk past them.
I will end you.
I am so boned. Night, night. Alright. Going to stop the stream for now, find myself something to eat, and I'll probably be back later to play some games. Either with my bro or alone, we'll see. See you in a couple hours.